Well, here we are. I folded my arms and stared at the rusted cemetery gate. Midnight, a graveyard. The perfect setting for two completely fearless individuals. Two very brave people about to do something incredibly stupid. Lynn rocked back on her heels, hands stuffed into her hoodie pockets. No wimps here, we laugh in the face of ghosts. I nodded. Lynn smirked, and if we scream, it's just for dramatic effect. Obviously, gotta set the mood. I glanced at the gate, which swayed slightly in the wind with a low creak. You know, they say this place is haunted. Lynn scoffed. Wow, the abandoned graveyard at midnight. Haunted? No way. No, seriously, I said, lowering my voice. They say if you walk between the headstones, you hear whispers. Lynn rolled her eyes. Whispers? Ghosts should learn to project. That's what I think. And sometimes, I continued, leaning in, people go in, but they don't come out. Lynn stared at me deadpan. Uh-huh. And sometimes, people who tell bad ghost stories get left outside the cemetery alone. I grinned. So you are scared. I am not scared, Lynn said through gritted teeth. Great, I gestured toward the gate. After you. Lynn turned to the looming darkness beyond the fence, then back to me. You know what? Since I'm such a good friend, I'll let you have the honor. I gasped in mock offense. You'd rob me of this once-in-a-lifetime experience. Lynn put a hand over her heart. I insist. Okay, fine, I muttered. We'll go together. On 3. Deal. 1, 2. Neither of us moved. 3? I asked hesitantly. 3, Lynn repeated, just as stilled. A gust of wind rustled the trees, sending a shiver down my spine. Somewhere deep in the cemetery, something creaked. Lynn cleared her throat. Okay. New dare. Touch the gate. I arched an eyebrow. Touch it? That's it? Unless you're scared. Please. I reached out and pressed my fingers against the cold, rusted metal. And then I wasn't outside the gate anymore. I stumbled forward, my sneakers crunching against dead leaves. The graveyard stretched out before me, headstones leaning like tired sentinels in the moonlight. Behind me, the gate stood shut. On the other side of it, Lynn gaped at me. What? How? Lynn took a step back. That's not funny, Sammy. I'm not joking. I turned and grabbed the bars. They didn't budge. Lynn hesitated, then reached out to the gate. The second her fingers brushed the metal, she vanished. Oh, come on! Lynn's voice came from beside me now. We spun to face each other, both breathing hard. The wind whispered through the cemetery, carrying something that sounded suspiciously like laughter. I swallowed. So, new plan. Yeah, Lynn muttered. How about we never listen to each other again? It felt like hours we were struggling with the gate, desperate to get out, both frustrated and a little panicked, despite pretending we weren't. I was starting to think maybe we should give up on the gate when I heard it. A voice from behind, dripping with sarcasm. Yeah, that's not gonna work. I spun around, almost tripping over my own feet. There was a person standing there. A person I swore I recognized, but I couldn't place from where. Lynn and I both froze, caught between confusion and a hint of unease. Who are you? Lynn asked, narrowing her eyes, trying to figure out if she should be suspicious. The person gave a quick, dry laugh. Oh, right, sure. I'm the one who's supposed to explain how you're stuck in this mess, huh? Classic. They shook their head like they'd seen this scenario 1,000 times. Stuck? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Is there a way out? Because we've been working on this gate for, like, ever. And the stranger raised a hand, cutting me off. You're wasting your time. There's no way out right now. Not unless you, know a secret exit no one's bothered to mention. They looked at the cemetery, and a faint shiver went through me. But you're better off not being out here anyway. Not being out here? Lynn scoffed. What does that mean? The stranger glanced around, their eyes darting nervously. Listen, the graveyard's not a friendly place at midnight. Trust me, you'd be better off taking cover. Cover? I repeated, trying to make sense of what they were saying. Where? The stranger motioned toward the looming shadows of the crypt nearby. That way. Stay inside. Just trust me. I shot Lynn a glance, but she just shrugged. She didn't seem to be in any rush to move, but the strange weight in the air, the whispers that I'd started hearing, made it clear we weren't alone. Fine, I said, moving first. But if you try to lock us in there with a bunch of ghosts, I swear I will punch you. Just saying. The stranger didn't answer, just started walking toward the crypt. We followed, the ground feeling colder with every step. The whispering only grew louder, like 100 voices trying to speak over one another, all muffled and urgent. We reached the crypt and I stepped inside, immediately feeling a shift in the air. The whispering was clearer now, almost too clear. It didn't sound right. I turned to the stranger. So, I thought we were supposed to be safe in here? This feels wrong. Lynn grunted as she entered, glancing around with a frown. Yeah, I think this place is haunted too. The stranger's eyes flickered to us, a strange tension in the air. You guys don't get it. You're the problem. What? Lynn blurted, hands on her hips. Excuse me? I gave the stranger a suspicious look. The problem? What do you mean? They ran a hand through their hair, suddenly looking uncomfortable. Well, I didn't expect this. You two are still alive. You shouldn't be. I stared at them, trying to process what they just said. Wait, you're saying we shouldn't be alive? The stranger sighed dramatically, like this whole situation was just so typical. Look, I didn't exactly get a say in the whole death thing, and I didn't expect to be stuck in a cemetery with a couple of live people either. But now we're all here. Wait, Lynn interrupted, pointing at them. Are you trying to tell us you're dead? The stranger looked at her like she'd just asked the most obvious question in the world. Well, yeah. What did you think? I'm not exactly wearing this as a costume. Lynn blinked, then gave me a wide-eyed look. Okay, hold on. Hold on. We're stuck in a cemetery with a ghost and I'm the one who's supposed to be freaking out? Probably, the ghost said with a grin that was more unsettling than comforting. I couldn't help it. I let out a nervous laugh. You could have said that sooner. Seriously, a little heads up would have been nice. Oh, hey, I'm a ghost, by the way. The ghost gave a nonchalant shrug. Not really something I keep on a name tag, you know. Lynn threw up her hands. This is ridiculous. Of all the places we could be, we're stuck in a crypt with a ghost who couldn't even bother to introduce themselves properly. What's next? Well, the ghost said, stepping closer, their expression turning more serious. Next, we figure out how to keep you two alive a little longer, 'cause trust me, things are about to get a lot worse. A chill ran down my spine and the whispering from outside the crypt intensified, now distinctly more menacing. I turned to Lynn, voice low. What if we're not supposed to get out of here? Shut up, Sammy, Lynn muttered, already stepping farther into the crypt. We'll get out. We have to. But even as she said it, the feeling of dread grew. The whispers were so close now that I could almost hear words, if only they weren't so distorted. The ghost glanced at us, eyes dark with something close to sympathy. You might want to brace yourselves for a long night, because the cemetery has a way of keeping people. The door of the crypt slammed shut behind us with a deafening bang. The door slamming shut behind us echoed in the crypt like a final warning. I instinctively stepped back, my heart hammering in my chest. Okay, what the hell is going on? Lynn's voice was tight and she was practically vibrating with nervous energy. She looked around the crypt, searching for an exit, but there were none. It was just stone walls, old caskets, and the eerie, suffocating darkness that was closing in. The ghost, who was clearly not interested in helping us understand the logistics of life after death, stood in the corner, their expression grim. "We don't have time," they said, eyes darting to the shadows. "You shouldn't have come here, but now that you have—" I swallowed hard, my throat dry. "What do you mean, now that we have? What happens now?" The ghost stared at us, then glanced over at the far side of the crypt where the whispering had grown louder. The whispers now felt almost alive, like fingers were brushing against my skin from all directions. It made my skin crawl. "You're in danger," the ghost said, and I felt my stomach drop. "There's a reason why people go missing here. There's something in the cemetery, something old, something that feeds on fear and living souls." Lynn's eyes were wide. "What? Is that why you're here? To protect us from whatever the hell that is?" The ghosts shook their heads slowly. "No, I can't protect you. I'm not alive anymore." Their voice faltered for a second, almost as if they were regretful of this. "But I can warn you." A cold gust of wind swept through the crypt, carrying with it a distant rumble of thunder, though there was no storm in sight. My breath caught in my throat. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. The whispering grew louder, now mingling with guttural growls. I glanced at Lynn, but she was frozen, staring straight ahead at the blackest part of the crypt, where the darkness seemed to swell. "I can feel it," she whispered, her voice shaking. "It's not just in the wind. It's alive." The ghost's face twisted with regret. "It's already chosen you." "What?" I spat, panic rising in my chest. "Chosen us for what?" Suddenly, the shadows in the crypt shifted. I couldn't explain it. One moment, they were just dark patches on the walls, and the next they were moving, creeping toward us like a living thing. The air turned heavy with the smell of decay and rot. The walls seemed to pulse. "Get back," the ghost warned, stepping in front of us as if to shield us from something we couldn't see. But it was too late. The ground beneath our feet began to tremble, as if the entire crypt were about to collapse. The shadows in the corners started to stretch out, swirling like smoke, their whispers turning into guttural, incoherent shouts. "No!" the ghosts shouted, their voice straining. "It's here!" And then the shadows attacked. I felt an icy grip on my arm, pulling me backward. Lynn cried out beside me, but I couldn't see her, couldn't focus on anything but the dark force dragging me toward the walls. The shadows were wrapping around me, suffocating me. I gasped, desperate for air that wasn't there. "Lynn!" I screamed, but the words barely escaped my throat. Everything was spinning, everything was wrong. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't think. A shrill cry came from Lynn, followed by a crash. I turned, fighting the shadows that clung to me, to see her struggling against the black tendrils coiling around her body. The look in her eyes was pure terror, the same terror I felt. The ghosts stood motionless, their expression hollow. "I can't help you fight it. You're too alive. That's what it wants. The shadows. They feed on the living. But if you can't let go of your fear—" I clutched my chest, my mind scrambling for a way out. "Then what? How do we fight this?" The ghost's eyes flickered with something like pity. "You don't. You survive. Only the dead survive here." "What?" I yelled, panic surging through my veins. "No way! We're not dying here!" But the shadows were already closing in. I could feel the life draining out of me, the whispers curling in my mind, gnawing at my soul. Lynn's voice, frantic and desperate, broke through the chaos. "Sammy, we can't just let it win. We have to—" Her words were cut off by a deafening scream. Hers, or maybe mine, it didn't matter anymore. The shadows were everywhere, suffocating us, drowning us in darkness. I turned toward the ghost, eyes wild with desperation. How do we escape? The ghost's gaze softened, their face filled with something like sorrow. You don't. You'll stay here forever, unless you can give in. You'll have to let go of everything that makes you alive. But even as the words left their lips, I felt myself slipping, my body going numb. The shadows recoiled just as I thought I was about to lose myself to them, suffocating and pulling me under. I barely managed to take a breath before the world shifted around me. It wasn't the crypt anymore. The walls were no longer cold, ancient stone, but instead smooth, sterile, and metallic, like a maze that twisted and turned at impossible angles. I spun around, disoriented. 1 second, I had been fighting for my life, and the next, this. Lynn was beside me, gasping for air, her eyes wide and searching. Where the hell are we? I had no answers. Nothing made sense. The walls were too smooth, like they didn't belong in a graveyard. They looked modern, but wrong. The air was thick with a faint scent of antiseptic and something metallic, like blood. It felt like we had walked into a nightmare that had no rules, no reason. The whispering, the growls, it was all still here, swirling in the darkness. I could feel it closing in. There was no escape. We need to get out, Lynn said, her voice trembling. We need to find a way out now. I swallowed hard. You don't think this is the way out? Her eyes snapped to mine. What do you mean? But I couldn't explain. Something was off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. This place, this maze, this labyrinth felt too alive, like it was watching us, waiting for us to make a wrong turn. I took a step forward and the floor shifted beneath me. The walls groaned as though they had a life of their own. My heart raced and I felt a cold chill crawl up my spine. Something was hunting us. It was like we were on the wrong side of a game we hadn't signed up for. Lynn, I whispered, the words trembling on my lips. I think we're being hunted. Lynn froze. What do you mean, hunted? By what? But before I could respond, the air in front of us shimmered, and there, in the middle of the corridor, appeared the ghost again. They looked almost solid now, but more worse if possible. It looked like they were being drained. They were just standing like an apparition that shouldn't exist, but there they were. How the hell did you get here? Lynn yelled, her voice cracking. The ghost's eyes flickered with something I couldn't read. You're here because you did exactly what the shadows wanted you to do. You let go. What? I asked, still trying to make sense of the shifting world around me. The ghosts stepped closer, their form rippling in the dark. You were able to give in, to surrender to the fear. You were about to lose yourselves to the shadows, but something inside you let it happen. That's what brought you here. Now, you're part of the labyrinth. My heart skipped a beat. Part of the labyrinth? What does that even mean? The ghost didn't answer right away. They glanced around, eyes narrowing. You need to follow the rules if you want to survive. There's a way out, but you need to be careful. The maze doesn't let go of its prey so easily. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. What rules? The ghost stepped back as if they were about to disappear. Rule number 1, never stop moving. The moment you stop, it will know. If you do, they'll see you, and when they see you, you'll never see anything else. My stomach lurched. What will know? The thing that haunts you, the ghost said, their voice growing quieter, more urgent. It feeds on hesitation. Lynn shuddered, but I barely had time to process the warning before the ghost continued. Rule 2. Don't trust the walls. They lie. They shift when you're not looking. I glanced around, feeling the walls pulse again, the shadows flickering behind the corners, seeming to watch. I felt cold dread settle in my bones. Rule 3. If you hear footsteps behind you, don't look. You'll only find what's already following you. The chill in the air turned icy. My breath quickened. This wasn't a game, this was survival. The labyrinth wasn't just a place, it was a predator. The final rule, the ghost whispered, stepping closer as if to make sure we heard every word. Never, ever go back the way you came. Once you've turned a corner, you can't return to where you started. If you do, you'll never escape. I opened my mouth to ask more, but before I could, the ghost was gone, leaving nothing but the echo of their final warning in the oppressive silence. Lynn exhaled sharply. Okay, that's a lot to take in. I don't even know what just happened, I muttered, still trying to wrap my head around everything. What does any of this mean? But there was no time for answers. The walls shifted again, and the growling from deep within the maze grew louder. Something was coming. We need to move, I said, grabbing Lynn's arm. Now. The footsteps behind us weren't just whispers anymore. They were real, heavy, and getting closer. The walls around us felt wrong, like they were breathing, alive. I could almost feel them shifting, stretching when I wasn't looking. I forced myself to keep moving, my heart pounding in my throat as I glanced nervously over my shoulder. The air was thick with dread. It clung to my skin as if it could choke me if I let it. A stale, rotting odor cut through the air, making my stomach churn. It wasn't just the place. It was something else. I couldn't tell if it was the walls or the shadows that surrounded us, but something was hunting us. Hey, Lynn. My voice cracked as I tried to break the silence. I think we're being followed. Lynn didn't look back. Her face was pale, eyes wide. No kidding. This place. It's wrong. And I'm not just talking about the walls. Did you hear that? I froze, trying to block out the rush of panic in my chest. A whisper. Soft, distant, but unmistakable. It felt like it was coming from everywhere, or nowhere, I couldn't tell. Suddenly the walls creaked, loudly. Move, I hissed, now. We didn't need to be told twice. Our feet echoed like thunder as we ran, but no matter how fast we went, the whispers stayed close. I couldn't help but feel they were getting louder, more insistent, like they were in my ears, in my head. Rule number 1, Lane muttered, the sarcasm barely hiding the fear in her voice. Never stop moving. Got it. I nodded, but my mind was spinning. The walls, they were closing in. Every time I glanced at the corners of my eyes, the labyrinth seemed to stretch in ways that didn't make sense. We were running in circles, yet the path seemed different with each turn. The air was heavy, like I was breathing through a wet cloth. And then the shadows. They moved. I barely saw it, but I felt it. A cold draft that sent a shock through my spine, as if something had brushed against me. I whipped my head around. Nothing. But the dread was still there. Closer now. Lynn, did you feel that? I whispered. She nodded sharply, eyes wide with fear. I did. Don't. Footsteps. Heavy. Slow. Too slow to be anything human. Do not look back. Do not look back. The rule echoed in my mind. I squeezed my eyes shut for a split second, just in case. I could hear them, the footsteps now moving closer. I could feel the cold press of something behind me. Its presence was suffocating. Don't look. Don't stop moving, I told myself. A sudden gust of wind slapped against my face, and the walls groaned in a strange, unnatural rhythm. Why, don't we just... Lynn started, but I cut her off with a frantic gesture. There was no time to explain. Well, I didn't know how much longer I could keep this up. My body was trembling, sweat stinging my eyes. The path ahead was a maze of shifting walls, the floor beneath my feet now squelching with an odd, wet sound. My shoes were sticking to something, but I didn't dare look. Behind us, the footsteps grew louder. I felt the unmistakable presence of something or someone right on our heels. Then, from the darkness ahead, a familiar voice rang out. "You're wasting your time." I blinked. It was the ghost from earlier. His form was barely illuminated by the dim light. I felt a rush of cold wash over me, my mind struggling to piece together why this person seemed so familiar. It's like I knew him from before coming to the cemetery. "Who the hell are you, really?" Lynn demanded, her voice edged with fear. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he just gave a slow, sarcastic smile. "The better question is, why are you still here?" I didn't care about his attitude. I had more pressing matters to deal with. "We need to get out. There's something following us." He glanced at the walls. A flicker of recognition passed through his eyes, but he only shrugged. "You're not going anywhere until you figure out how to survive this." I took a step forward. "What does that mean?" He raised his hand, motioning for us to follow. "Rule number 1, never stop moving. The moment you stop, it will know. If you do, they'll see you, and when they see you, you'll never see anything else." I felt my breath catch. "We already know that." "Good." He gave a thin, knowing smile. "Rule 2, don't trust the walls. They lie. They shift when you're not looking." Lynn shot me a look. "Tell me again why we should be listening to this guy." "Because if you don't, you're already dead," he said coolly, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "Rule 3, if you hear footsteps behind you, don't look. You'll only find what's already following you." I froze, dread pooling in my stomach. I could hear them. They were still behind us. "You were lying," I whispered, but it felt wrong to even think that. The whole place felt wrong. He didn't seem to care about my disbelief. His eyes darkened. "If you want to survive, follow the rules. They're not a suggestion." Just then, the air grew colder, the whispering voices louder, and something in the distance shifted. A shadow twisted and contorted like it was hunting, searching. "We don't have time to argue." The stranger turned and walked deeper into the labyrinth. "Now, move." We didn't hesitate, but every step I took, I couldn't shake the feeling that the walls were moving closer, tightening around us. We kept running, ignoring the crushing panic crawling at the back of my mind. And then we turned a corner. Everything went black. I woke up to absolute darkness. My breath hitched. My hands shot out, hitting rough wooden walls inches from my face. The air was thick, stale, heavy, wrong. I sucked in a trembling breath, but it carried the rancid stench of rot. Panic clawed at my chest. I pushed against the wooden boards above me, but they didn't budge. My fingers scraped against splinters. Buried. I was buried alive. My fingers scrabbled against the wooden lid above me, but the space was too tight, too small. I was trapped. I could hear my own panicked breathing. I was confused for a moment, as it sounded like someone else was beside me, breathing in sync, but more raspy. Is it Lynn, I wonder? Then something shifted beside me. A wet squelch, the drag of something heavy against the wood. My stomach turned as the putrid scent intensified. I wasn't alone. A voice rasped, brittle as dead leaves. "She's already gone." Cold horror crawled down my spine. My hand jerked away from the source of the voice, my fingers brushing something soft, damp. Flesh. "No," I whispered. "No, she's not." The thing beside me let out a slow, shuddering breath, a wet cough, thick with something I refused to imagine. Then a chittering sound, tiny legs skittering over skin. My stomach clenched. I couldn't move. I had to move. The corpse shifted closer, a wet, squirming sound, as if something inside it was alive. "It's too late," it murmured, its breath foul against my cheek. "You'll rot here. Just like me. Something wriggled against my arm, a centipede. I flinched as it crawled over my wrist, disappearing into the darkness. My pulse pounded in my ears. I couldn't stay here. I wouldn't. I clenched my eyes shut. Not real, not real. Then something skittered across my cheek. Tiny legs, many of them. I choked down a scream as I felt it crawl toward my lips. No, 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 I thrashed, my knee knocking into brittle bones, my fingers clawed at the wood above, desperate, reckless. The whisper came again, a wet gurgle. She screamed for you. A cold, slimy hand brushed my arm. I lost it. I punched, kicked, scraped. My nails dug into the rotting wood, splinters slicing into my skin. I pushed, shoved, heaved. The weight of earth above pressed down, making every movement feel sluggish. My lungs burned. The corpse beside me rattled with laughter. You can't dig yourself out of death. But I could try. With every ounce of strength I shoved, clawed, tore. My fingernails splintered, my muscles screamed, but then the coffin cracked. Dirt rained down, clogging my throat. I coughed, spat, and clawed my way up. My lungs burned, my vision swam, but I kept digging, kept going, because I had to. Because if I didn't, I'd die down there. Because if I didn't, maybe Lynn really was. With one final, desperate shove, my hand burst through the earth. Cool air rushed in. I gasped, dragging myself up, pulling myself from the grave. I collapsed onto the damp ground, panting, shaking. My hands were caked in dirt and blood. My fingernails felt like they were barely hanging on. The night air was cold against my sweat-soaked skin. I gulped it in like it was the only thing keeping me alive. Then I looked up. I was still in the cemetery, and I was still alone. I staggered back, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The headstone was barely standing, a crooked slab of wood smeared with red paint. My name, my grave. And beside it, Lynn's. The world tilted. My pulse thundered in my ear. No, I whispered, no, no, no. I lunged forward, dropping to my knees in front of her grave. My hands, raw and bleeding, sank into the dirt. She's not dead, I muttered, clawing at the earth. She's not dead. The skin under my nails was already raw from clawing out of my own grave, but I didn't care. I shoveled fistfuls of earth aside, breath coming in frantic gasps. Lynn, I choked out. Lynn, I swear, if you're dead, I'm killing you. The ground gave beneath my fingers, and suddenly skin, cold, too still, then it twitched. I yelped, nearly falling backward, but forced myself to keep going. I dug faster, clutching her arm, pulling, yanking. Lynn erupted from the dirt like a horror movie villain. She sucked in a deep, gasping breath, then started screaming. Full volume, blood-curdling, absolutely unhinged screaming. Arms flailing, legs kicking, like a spider that just realized it's been stepped on. I grabbed her shoulders. Lynn, Lynn, stop screaming. She did not stop screaming. She did, however, start throwing punches. Ow, stop hitting me. Why am I in a grave? Lynn shrieked, eyes wild, still trying to maul me. Because you were buried? I dodged, another flailing arm. And if you don't stop punching me, I'm putting you back. Lynn froze. Her chest heaved. Her pupils darted left, right, at the broken coffin behind her. Oh, she croaked. Then she gagged. Oh, that smell is me, isn't it? I was so relieved she was alive, I almost laughed. Then the whisper came, not from her, from behind us. She didn't come out alone. Lynn's gag turned into a choke. Her eyes locked onto something behind me, and her face lost all color. My blood went ice cold. I turned. The grave behind Lynn was still open. The wooden coffin had split apart completely when I pulled her free. The inside was slick with something dark and glistening, something that shouldn't be there. and the dirt inside it was shifting. Something was crawling out. I grabbed Lynn's arm and yanked her to her feet. Run! We ran. I barely registered my own exhaustion, barely felt the burning in my legs or the dirt grinding into my raw, bleeding hands. All I knew was, run. Lynn's fingers were clenched in mine, her grip iron tight as I yanked her forward. She was fast, but not fast enough. I half dragged her through the headstones, our breath ragged, the sound of something wet and wrong chasing us. Behind us, something slithered and crawled, something with too many limbs, too many mouths. It shrieked, a sound that made my teeth ache. The cemetery gate was ahead, rusted and yawning open, and beyond it, the first light of dawn. Sammy! Lynn's breath hitched. I can't. Just keep running, I gasped. I didn't know why. I just knew we had to make it before the sun fully rose, before the light touched us. The sky was shifting now, soft pink bleeding into deep blue. Shadows stretched long, reaching, grasping, and still that thing behind us crawled faster. It was gaining. I risked a glance back. Mistake, the thing lurched forward. A hand, no a claw, no a tangle of rotting limbs reached for us, inches away. I pulled Lynn hard. She yelped as we leapt forward. Over the threshold. We collapsed onto the pavement just outside the cemetery gates. And then, silence. I rolled onto my back, sucking in desperate gulps of air. No screaming, no wet slithering. I turned my head. The cemetery was still. The thing that had been chasing us, gone. I blinked. The sun had risen. Morning light washed over the graveyard, making everything look normal, peaceful even, like nothing had ever happened. And standing just inside the gate was him, the familiar ghost. He smiled at us, waved, and then he faded. Just like that, he was gone. Lynn and I stared at the empty graveyard. I should have just asked you out on a movie date like a regular person, I said, and that was the first time I admitted I liked Lynn as more than a friend. A week later, the diner was busy. Greasy food, the smell of coffee, the comforting lack of undead horrors. Lynn stirred her milkshake. I chewed my burger. Neither of us had talked about that night. Not really. We had barely survived a horror movie plot, and yet, here we were, on a second date. Maybe trauma bonding was a thing. Then, Lynn stiffened. Her spoon clattered against the table. I looked up. What? Her eyes were locked on something behind me. Slowly, I turned. There, on the diner wall, a missing person poster. The face on it was smiling. Familiar. Too familiar. My stomach dropped. Holy shit, Lynn whispered. That's him. The ghost. The helpful, sarcastic, eerily familiar ghost. Missing since last year. We stared at the poster, our fries forgotten. Then, without looking away, Lynn reached across the table, grabbed my milkshake, and took a very long sip. Sammy, she said finally. Yeah? My voice was barely there. She set the cup down. Next time, I'm picking the date.